Hello and welcome everyone to the Penn State Readiness Institute Speaker Series. The Readiness Institute at Penn State, a Penn State outreach initiative, enables education, industry, and community partners to coordinate, collaborate, and create experiences for learners to achieve community and future readiness. This month's speaker series topic is future career pathways. According to the World Economic Forum, by 2025, new jobs will emerge and other jobs will be displaced, and the top growing job demand will be artificial intelligence. And with that, I am thrilled to welcome today's guest, one of the top artificial intelligence educational experts in the world, Ruse, the CEO of Ready AI. Ready AI is the first comprehensive K-12 AI education company to create an out-of-the-box, ready and complete program to teach artificial intelligence. Ready AI's mission is to provide AI education that empowers students to use AI to change the world. Ruse, welcome to the Readiness Institute at Penn State Speaker Series.
Justin, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited to be here with you today.
So, Ruse, we're more excited for you to be here today. And to start with, I want to let people know who you are. So can you just explain yourself, your role, but more importantly, your personal and professional pathway of how you became a CEO of a company, Ready AI?
Well, first of all, thanks so much for your introduction. Was super kind, and thanks for having me here. So I'm a first-generation immigrant. I came to Pittsburgh when I was a teenager. I went to a local high school here, Chartiers Valley. You might have some people watching from Chartiers Valley. And after that, I joined the U.S. military. I was in the United States Army and served for approximately 8 years. And I also am a byproduct of a community college. I started my education at community college, and I thought, I still think that's a very good decision. Support our community colleges. These are really great institutions. And I went to Community College of Allegheny County, and then University of Pittsburgh, and where I did my undergrad and grad school. And also my career path took me to different routes. I was in finance, investment banking, focusing on political risk. And in 2016, started the AI education company with my partner, Andrew Chen, who is also the president of another institution called Whole Run Education. Now here we are, 5-6 years later, time flies by, a lot more gray hairs. Now I'm running Ready AI, and we're really proud to be focusing on AI education. And we are talking, interacting, learning from educators, from students, and from school systems, and from societies all around the world, from Luxembourg to Germany to Singapore to China, and you name it. And I'm very proud to be currently in about 127 countries and interacting with the next generations about AI, importance of AI, but more important, importance of AI education. So in a nutshell, that has been my journey.
Well, there's so much to unpack right there and where to start. But the first thing I'll say is thank you for your service to our country. It's November. We celebrate our Veterans Day this month. So thank you for your 8-year service to our military. We truly appreciate that. So we talked a lot about AI, growing jobs. AI is important in education and around the world. Obviously, you're in 127 countries, which is amazing. And so, but why artificial intelligence? We talked about jobs will be displaced, new jobs will be emerging. But for you, why artificial intelligence? Why is it so important, and what is it?
That's a great question. I think that's a question we ask ourselves. Parents ask themselves. School systems, educators, students. But there's an aspect of AI. Sure, when we're talking about jobs, we're going to be seeing a wave of job losses, some job gains. And we also see job changes. For example, what a radiologist used to be 10 years ago is very different in terms of the functions that a radiologist does today. So if you go to a local hospital, talk to a radiologist, perhaps he or she is not going to spend as much time behind the computer going through the scan as he or she will be interacting with patients. So we're seeing some changes in the jobs. Because of what? Because of intelligent machines, new imagery system, machine learning systems that are detecting any type of outliers within an image of a patient or whatsoever. We're also seeing some jobs that we're losing, probably a decade from now. We're not going to see human customer service representatives. Today we're asking most of our questions from intelligent machines, and those machines probably in the future will have a more natural interaction with us. So it would be very difficult for us to figure out whether we're talking to a machine or we're talking to a human being. Now, there's going to be also new jobs. If you look at the job categories, if 20 years ago or 30 years ago, I would ask we have something called data scientists. They said, what are you talking about? So there are new jobs that are being created, and that will be the trend. So we will lose jobs, we will also gain jobs, and some of the jobs are changing. Now, the interesting part is none of us really know what those changes will be, but there are some tools that we can put in our toolbox to be prepared for some of those changes. And AI is one of them. Oftentimes I tell folks that we don't want to have this priesthood of roboticists and computer scientists making decisions for us, how we shop, for example, even sentencing guidelines in our court systems, or giving credit mortgages based on credit scores and other criteria to other folks. We want this to be more of an inclusive conversation. So it's important for us to develop in conjunction with other ways of thinking about the world. We can look at the world through the eyes of, for example, literature, or through the eyes of medicine, or through the eyes of computer programming or computational thinking. But I would also suggest, I like to make the case, we can look at the world through the eyes of AI, and we can call that AI thinking. So regardless of our interest, whether we want to go to law school, maybe we want to go to vocational school, join the military, every aspect of our lives moving forward will be impacted by AI. Today, we'll all see AI, but what's important, Justin, I think we need to collectively develop a better understanding of AI technology. And I think that's a conversation that we should be having. And those are the kind of tools we have to put in our toolboxes.
Well, that's everything you said, 100% spot on. And the one thing you said is we don't know exactly the jobs AI will impact, but we do know today, November 18th, 2021, every single job sector there is, and you said some of them: healthcare, criminal justice, security, education. It's being impacted by AI today. Like every job sector we know, AI has an impact on it today. So no matter what kind of job you want to get in the future, if you're a 10th grader watching this and you're saying, boy, I want to go get a job in this industry, I want to be a farmer. Well, AI is going to play a role in that. So I love the fact that you said you're giving people the tools, the skills to get ready no matter what they want to do, because we know that AI is already here today. So what specific things are you and Ready AI, what are you doing in these 127 countries, those tools, those skills to get kids ready, like you said, AI literacy and talking about AI, not going in depth about, we need to build this computer to send a rocket to the moon. Like we just need to understand it, because somehow, some way, you can have a chance to impact AI, or you will be impacted by AI, and you need to understand that. So what are some specific things that you are doing as an educator, an AI expert, to help give, like you said, the tools in our toolkit so we can be future ready?
Sure. Right now, here in the United States, we're very fortunate because we have wonderful institutions, and particularly here in the city of Pittsburgh, where I'm speaking to you from, is we have a fantastic institution, Dr. Ali, you're also associated with it, Carnegie Mellon University. So Carnegie Mellon University, Computer Science Teachers Associations and National Science Foundation, through the funding by National Science Foundations, they have developed a guidelines for AI and AI teaching at kindergarten through 12th grade. And that guidelines talks about 5 big ideas in subjects such as perception, how computers perceive the world. Part of it could be vision, computer vision, some machine learning, societal impact, object manipulations, and so on and so forth. So these big ideas are this kind of, in a way, guidelines of how we design our materials and lesson plans, our coursework, even our books, because I'm a big believer that part of a conversation about AI should be unplugged. But the biggest thing that we're attempting to do is to make this AI conversation less intimidating. You don't have to be a computer science teacher to be involved. You don't have to necessarily want to be coding or want to be a programmer to learn about AI. So one, make it inclusive, make it more just, and make it more focused on human dignity. And that's a very, very important part. And we want to make sure that for the future, whatever system in AI is being designed, we're focusing on those designs to be human-centered. And those designs not only to be human-centered, but also be very diverse. So if today you look at the computer science schools around the country, around the world, unfortunately, it's a boys' club. So we need to change that. And that change really happens at kindergarten through 12th grade. So who feels a sense of belonging to that conversation? That conversation is an AI conversation. So the macro picture, we focus on inclusivity, inclusion, equity, diversity, but more important, the issues of justice, the issue of belonging, and the issue of dignity, which is human dignity at the core of it. So that's in a kind of a nutshell what we're doing. And we want to make sure people feel comfortable to start these conversations, not just to be the passive users of these technologies, but active participants of AI and this evolutionary journey that we're taking.
That's amazing. I love the fact that you bring inclusivity to the conversation. I think one of the things that AI has the most potential to do is to enlarge this equity gap between towns, cities, countries, cultures, continents, really. I mean, really the rich, poor, just it has a chance to widen that more and more. But you're saying this needs to be at least exposed to or taught to everyone because it impacts everyone. So I applaud you. I applaud you for that. So before we kind of wrap up here, I just want to say, is there anything else that you think doing all of this work, traveling around the world, having your product ready AI that you wanted to build because you love education, you think it's important? It's in many different languages too. What's like the big thing you see out there, the big aha moment when you started back in 2016, 5 years later, like, wow, we didn't expect that to happen, or that was pretty wild, or just that aha moment? That any moments you want to share with anybody listening or anything out there, just like, this is pretty cool, or this is a lot different than I thought. Just something, maybe give us some inside knowledge.
That's a very good question. I got to think about that a bit more, but something that comes to me at this moment is interacting with children. So we have something called WACI, which is a World Artificial Intelligence Competition for Youth.
Tell us more about WACI.
Sure. WACI is it's the biggest AI competition for youth, for everyone around the world between the age of 6 to 18. Actually, we did have someone as young as 4 years old participating in it.
And you run that, right?
We do. We run this out of Pittsburgh. The inaugural event took place in 2018, and this is our 4th WACI. As the recording of this and live session that we have, on the 18th, 2 days from now, on the 20th, we will have WACI. So I promote it because shamelessly, because it's totally free, waci.org. So I hope you don't mind. So and that's a way for kids to have a conversation about AI. So my biggest aha moment is not about the AI technology and how kids are using AI. My biggest aha moment, or my biggest source of optimism in the future, is these kids are thinking about human values. They're thinking about making the world a better place. And I don't just mean it the way that we talk about it behind podiums as grown-ups, as our politicians talk about it. They really mean it. And seeing how these kids work together, collaborate in a way, also create new things, makes it very, very, very interesting. And to me, makes me very, very hopeful about the future. I think this generation, Justin, the ones that I'm interacting with between the age of 6 to 18, this AI native generation, they're not really there to find out all the cool things that AI is doing, because AI and technology will advance like electricity and other things that we have as they advance. They're really trying to define, in my opinion, what does it mean to be a human being in the age of AI? And defining that is something that I've been seeing in interacting with kids. So in a way, they're in a way learning more about themselves and what makes us humans, what makes us better humans. So really, as much fun as I have dealing with AI, but the personality of these individuals that I see at WACI, in classrooms, in different countries, speaking different languages, makes me very, very optimistic about the world. And I know it's kind of difficult, particularly for what we went through with pandemic and now virtual everything, but it's very interesting. So that's my biggest takeaway since the inception of Ready AI, more about us, the humans behind it, more so than the technology itself.
I love that. We dropped the WACI in the chat. Emma Hans, the Readiness Institute program manager, is leading the Zoom right now, and she's monitoring the chat. And she put in the chat the WACI competition, waci.org, if you want to know more information about it. And again, I keep saying this. I love what you said about listening to the kids about artificial intelligence. You used the term AI native. And that's how I personally got into artificial intelligence education, and a champion for AI education is when I asked my own son, tell me what you know about artificial intelligence. And he said, oh, I use it every day. YouTube, Netflix, Xbox to unlock my phone. Tell me about AI. Oh, that's when you put information or ask Siri a question. They look through data. They make a prediction back to you. And I said, who's teaching you this? He goes, nobody. I'm just growing up with it. And I was like, wow, we have the greatest opportunity in history at our fingertips. And kids are growing up learning about AI on their own. And if we could take the knowledge and power that you have and the tools that you have and to teach that to every child, that's amazing. So I applaud you. I'm so glad that you were able to join us today on the Readiness Institute Speaker Series. We thought about future career jobs. We said, wow, artificial intelligence. And let's get one of the, probably the leading company out there in the world, Ready AI, and their CEO, Ruse, to come on and talk about what they are doing and why it's important. So I applaud you. I thank you, my friend. And any last thoughts or anything that you have you want to share with anyone who is listening or will listen to this in the future?
First of all, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for what you're doing, Justin. You've been an educator. You've been a good role model for me and a good mentor. And I mean it because what you've been doing, you're really focusing on, you're giving a lot of good spotlight on personality. And this is really important. Being a CEO of a startup company, dealing with a lot of people and dealing with AI. AI is really smart, probably much smarter than us. I don't think we can really outsmart AI in any time, frankly. What makes a big difference is personalities. So you are the person, Justin, that invests in personality of people more so than their just pure test scores or IQ. And I think that's what you're doing at the Readiness Institute as well. And I think that's really, really important. And I'm learning that lesson myself. So if there are kids that are watching it, focus on your personalities. That's what's going to make a big difference. Those are the deep connections. And AI is supposed to just help us do that. And hope we can do it together.
Well, thank you, Riz. My biggest takeaway is that AI is impacting everything and is helping us make better decisions. And to your point, the more that we can learn those soft skills and how to work as a team and get along using the tools available for us, the greater impact we can have around the world. So thank you so much for being an inspiration to us. We're glad you're a friend of the Readiness Institute. And if you'd like to get in contact with Ruse, readyai.wacy.org. You can look him up. He's everywhere. LinkedIn, Twitter, you name it. He's out there. He's easy to find. So we're going to share this information. We're going to share this video on YouTube. So if you want to watch us again, please feel free to go to YouTube and watch this at the Readiness Institute at Penn State's website underneath speaker series, underneath programs. Thank you, Emma, for leading us today. And thank you, as always, Ruse, for leading really the world in the right directions. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you.
And thank you for everybody who watched us today. And if you have any questions or comments, as always, please feel free to let us know. And we hope you can join us next month for our speaker series. Thank you and have a great day.